Hey, everybody, I'm Scott Weichel. You're listening to My Kind of Country. Thank you so much for joining us on a Monday night. We are getting into the fall season. Man, it's Christmas is coming. It's unbelievable. And I've got something that you want to put on your Christmas list this year, folks. My friend Kelly Lang has a brand new book, and it's called I'm Not Going Anywhere. And I'm going to tell you, if you have never read a book in your life, you're going to want to read this book. If you've got a loved one or yourself or someone that you know has gone through cancer, even if you haven't, it's still such an inspirational book. There are so many wonderful stories in here. And I've got the lady herself with me tonight. We're going to talk about the book and talk about the song. It's an honor to welcome Kelly Lang back to My Kind of Country. Kelly, how are you tonight?
Hi, Scott, and thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Well, I tell you, the last time that you and I had a chance to visit was such a nice conversation, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I've got to tell you that T.G. Shepherd is my favorite person to interview. We've had some of the best talks, and I just love when I get to talk to you guys.
He's my favorite person to talk to, too. We have that in common.
There you go. Well, you be sure to tell him I said hello. He's just fabulous, and I always look forward to talking to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, you've got a brand new book, and not only some great stories from your life, but very personal, very open things that have gone on in your life, both good and bad, and you're very honest and open about that. And you are a 17-year breast cancer survivor. You detail that in great detail in this book. And my first question to you is, what gave you the idea to really decide to sit down and do this book?
Well, that's a great question. It all began with the middle of the book. I was cleaning out our garage and finding things, awards and plaques and things that TG had forgotten about and I'd never seen before, and a lot of mementos from my career in the past that he had never seen before. So we had a really great time learning about each other. And these things have been packed in boxes for years. If we weren't using it, we just were too lazy to go and unpack them. And the pandemic gave me time to be able to clear all of that out. And within finding all of these things, I also found scratch pieces of paper with my scribbled notes on it from when I was diagnosed. Now, I had a doctor tell me that this could be very serious because I was so young and had already spread. It might be in my best interest to write all my notes down or make a video for my kids. I asked her if that's what is that how serious this is? She goes, well, that might be something you might want to think about. And I was just stunned. And so I began writing notes, journaling basically, and then I just put it away. I just thought, no, it's just too depressing. I don't want to deal with that. So I put them away and never saw them again for all of these years, and here I found them. And I was telling my friend about how much I had cleaned out of the garage and what I'd found. And she goes, oh, my gosh, Kelly, I dreamt that you wrote a book last night, and I dreamt that it really helped people and inspired people. You should look at all of those notes and start there. Go back to the beginning of your career and then go to the end of where you are right now and just start in the middle. And I'm like, who does that? I've never written a book before, but that seems like a weird way to begin. But if I had not kept all of those notes, my details would have been very foggy. I would have, chosen to have forgotten a lot of the details. But I appreciate you saying that it's authentic and raw, because I feel like people can grow once we take all of our guards down and are really real with people and bring them into the doctor's visits with you. They know what it feels like. If I just kind of sugar-coated things, it wouldn't have mattered.
Well, everyone in different walks of life, we all have common things that bring us together, and no matter what your status, these are things that we all share and we can all relate to. And it's very nice that God has put you in a position of being a celebrity person that can really get the word out there. And I think this is going to really help a lot of people.
It has already begun to at least filter back to me that people are encouraged by my book. Heck, the fact that I'm 17 years out, to me, if I had someone like myself to look towards when I was going through that, it would have given me enlightenment and excitement to go, hey, she did it, I could do it too. Because really, I didn't know what I was doing. I just was navigating as I went along. I was being dealt cards, and I, played the hand that I was dealt. But I didn't know how long I would really survive. And all these years later, I've learned a lot of life lessons along the way because of that detour in my life. I learned how to take things more with a grain of salt and laugh more and use the fine china and burn the good candles. And I mean, every day that we have air in our lungs is a day worth celebrating.
Yeah.
I don't wait for days to celebrate things to do those finer things in life. And I grew to really, some people could look at cancer as a death sentence, but I chose for it to be my life sentence. And I explain that in the book, and the fact that I live more empathetically and boldly, and I take more chances now than I ever would have if I hadn't been dealt that kind of a sentence in my life.
Well, I'm sure you'll agree with me that we all go through life, and you kind of get into the routine and kind of take things for granted, and that's good advice. Whether you're going through some sort of a health crisis or not, it's a really good thing to stop and just say, you know what, I'm going to take that time. I'm going to enjoy my life because it goes so fast, and it sure doesn't come around again. That's for sure.
No, it doesn't. And I was really proud. You mentioned TG before. TG Shepard is my husband. At the time that I was diagnosed with cancer, we were just dating. And the one thing I really am proud of him about is he at one point was, he was private. He didn't want people to really know a lot about our personal life. But as we have evolved, we realized that it is helpful for people to see that everybody has something. Everybody's got a scar they're trying to hide. And his happened to have been a financial crisis that he had gone through. And he stuck with me during cancer. We had, and when they say, till death do you part in sickness and in health, man, before we ever said I do, we had gone through every bout of what a marriage could battle through, and we still survived. And I'm so grateful that he was clear about all of that in my book. And he actually wrote a chapter about how he dealt with his partner's cancer diagnosis. I thought he did a really great job of encouraging men to stick with their partners, because sometimes they don't.
Well, the book, folks, is called I'm Not Going Anywhere. It is available at Amazon.com. You can get autographed copies at kellylang.net. There's also a Kindle version you can get at Amazon. And there's a really cool thing throughout this book. If you're reading it, you'll want to have your cell phone handy, because there are QR codes that are placed throughout the chapters, and you can get a closer look. There's some videos and different things, kind of some extras. That's a neat idea, and I don't think I've seen that happen in a book before, Kelly.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's a forward way of thinking, I think, because everybody's got their cell phones with them. And if you're like me, I'm a visual person, and I really like to have a lot of photos, which we do have in the book, but I like to be able to have people hear my voice and know what I am passionate about, or what I want them to really cue in on if I didn't have enough room to write it in the book, I at least had an opportunity to reiterate in a video that correlates with the chapters. For instance, I think in one of the chapters I speak about Star Search. I think it's chapter 1 or 2. And I was really excited to run across the old footage from 1985 of me being on Star Search with Ed McMahon. So I was able to put that video to correlate with the words that I have in chapter 1. So that was kind of fun. And then some of them are more serious. Some of them are videos that TG and I have done, or I just think it's a fun extra bonus, and it keeps people interactive.
I want to talk about the song. There's a beautiful video for this song, and folks, we're going to put that on our Facebook page for My Kind of Country. In the song I'm Not Going Anywhere, you actually wrote this for someone else, and this was before you were diagnosed with cancer. Is that right? Yes,
I wrote it 3 or 4 months before I was diagnosed. I was watching a friend of mine care for her husband, and although he had nurses all around him, I didn't see him be any comfort for them at all, but until his wife would say, "Honey, I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here." And then I saw him ease. And I thought, wow, if somebody would say that to me, I would feel that too. I mean, I hope to not ever need that. And then I wrote this song and didn't think much more about it, really. And lo and behold, a few months later, here I am, bald and green, and going through cancer treatments myself. And I never let TG see me without a wig or makeup or, something to cover up this horrible mess. And one day he let himself into my condo, and he heard me screaming and crying, so he ran upstairs. I had let my girls go to school. I never let anybody see me cry. I'd just gotten out of the shower, and I was very raw. I just let myself just look at all the scars and the cuts and the, bald head and green skin, and I was wailing, Scott. And he let himself in the bathroom, and he wrapped me up in a white terry cloth robe, and he pulled me down to the ground, and he started rocking me and kissing me on my bald head, and he said, "Honey, I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here." I said, "No, you need to leave. It's time for you to, here's your door, here's your exit, And he goes, "You're beautiful, you're my favorite person in the world, you're so precious, I'm not going anywhere." And all of a sudden, I just had this peace. I trusted him. It was, there's no marriage certificate in the world that would have married me any more than those words at that moment. And that song eventually became, it was recorded by Crystal Gayle and TG. It was in a Burt Reynolds movie. And then 16 years later, Ascension Hospitals picked it up for their national commercial.
Oh, wow.
So it's really, it's taken a life of its own, and it has different meanings for everybody. I've had several people say that they've lost their spouse, and that was something that they gave them comfort. Or people that had to leave, unfortunately, people in their nursing homes or hospitals during the pandemic, it's given them comfort. I just felt God's really using those words and the melody to help heal people, which
Absolutely.
I'm grateful for.
I want to talk about your early career for just a moment. You certainly were born and raised in the country music world, and I know that your dad worked for Conway Twitty for many years, and you were close to him. And there's another example of someone that we lost way too early, and it was such a shock. I still remember when that happened. Tell me a little bit about your early career and some of the great people that you were around.
I was born in Oklahoma City. My dad started working for Conway Twitty as a road manager. And through meeting Conway, obviously, and moving over to Nashville from Oklahoma, it was not uncommon for people like Loretta Lynn or George Jones or Randy Travis, anybody, all of them, to call on occasion and ask my dad advice or, work out details for road things. And my dad became an intricate part of their business decisions in a lot of these other careers. And as a matter of fact, George and Loretta wrote about my father in their books. So that was a real thrill for our family. But I grew up around it and didn't think much about it. I just thought everybody's family that was what they did. It didn't dawn on me it was an unusual life until later. And then I started on the Ralph Emery Morning Show, and then on to Nashville Network. And one thing led to another, Star Search, and I became the go-to opening act for all of the artists around the country because I just had been doing it for so long. And it was just a wonderful childhood, and it was just briefly interrupted when I married and subsequently had children. And I didn't think I would really be able to get back into it, but I've really enjoyed this resurgence of my career.
Tell me about Paul Shaffer.
Well, I met Paul at a Conway concert, believe it or not. He was in town for a Barbara Mandrell softball game, and him and, oh my goodness, Oprah Winfrey and John Stamos and Bob Hope and just a bunch of people there. Conway used to do this huge concert every fanfare, kind of kicking off fanfare. And he came and sat down next to me, and we became friendly, and I actually went up to see him and his girlfriend at the time a few months after that and hung out with them in New York. And then we went for a long period of time without seeing or talking with each other. It's just, life just gets in the way. And we ran back into each other again and became friendly again. He's kind of one of these characters that pops in and out of your world, and you don't know when you'll see him again, but he's quite a talent. I've had a weird life.
You've had a great life.
I have.
There are so many, we tend to pigeonhole ourselves into categories when it comes to music, but there's a common bond between musicians and people. We all just kind of come together and we have that common bond of music, whether it's, rock and roll or R&B or country or whatever it is.
The greatest teacher for that very subject is Elvis.
Yeah.
He recorded every type of music, and everybody could find something within his music that they loved, whether it be gospel or rock or country. And not that I'm trying to mimic him in any way. It just so happened that I was raised on all different genres. I love Gladys Knight. I love Frankie Valli. I love Sting and Rita Coolidge. Oh, and Conway and TG. And, so I was bathed in all different types of music. And so therefore, what I'm doing with my life right now is I record what I enjoy. And if I'm enjoying myself, somebody else may be as well when they listen. But I don't pigeonhole myself into any one type of genre. I just love music. It's like, runs in my blood no matter what type it is. There's some I like better than others, but I've enjoyed doing these old soul albums. I'm in the process of doing Old Soul 2 because I ran out of room on the first album. I'm going to do the songs I couldn't get to on the first version of it. And I am having so much fun putting this album together. It's songs you hear at the gas station or in the airports or, it's just songs that we've grown up with, and they bring you back to a really fun and safe time in our lives.
Oh, sure. I can't wait to hear that. Put me down on the list. I want to do a feature on that when you get it done.
Well, great. Glad to do that.
And folks, you can go to our YouTube archive channel. We did a feature on Kelly's album Old Soul, and you can hear that entire feature on there. We had such a great time with that, and that was a perfect example of so many. You covered so much ground on that album, and you're blessed with a voice, and you can do that stuff too.
Well, thanks. I just, if I think I can't do it, then of course I leave it to the pros. But I like to stretch, and I like to try new things. And if it works, it lands on the album. If it doesn't work, it lands in the pile. So there's been a couple of things that we thought didn't sound as what I kind of thought it would, and we're just having a ball. That's another thing I learned from having cancer. I have really given myself permission to only do things that I really enjoy. And I don't let anybody else determine my road, my path on my road. I don't let a label determine that. I don't let the charts determine that. I really just listen to my heart and what makes me happy. And I've had people tell me they can sense that. So I'm really thinking I'm on the right path for me.
It is very easy to sense that, both with your music and how you talk about this stuff. You've got such a wonderful heart, and it just really shows through in anything you do. Any of your TV appearances, it just really, you can just see it. And I'm so thankful that you and TG have such a wonderful life together. And I want to ask you, how did you and TG first meet?
Well, I wish I knew the answer to that. He just always was, and he can't recall when we met at all. I was always an opening act for so many artists, and I know that he was opening for Conway a lot. I probably met him backstage at a Conway concert, but I don't remember him not. I don't know. I wish I could tell you. I remember the first time that I felt excited in his presence was when I saw him perform at Jamboree in the Hills, and I was performing on that show that night too, and it was just, there were 60,000 people in the audience, and it was just, he was on fire with his career, and I think it was even his birthday, and it was like the first time he'd ever paid attention to me from an artist standpoint. I was only 14, and I was just a kid, but he was so kind to me, just very gentlemanlike, and of course I never thought of him as being a relationship, but he was just encouraging and kind to me. And then he became friends with my parents, and they actually became in business partners with each other. And, 100 years later, his first wife fixed us up on a date.
That's amazing.
Yeah, well, she said of all the people that she, could have hoped that he would end up with, she really liked me and felt that we would have a lot in common. And so she kind of put the little word in his ear that I was single, because I'd run into her at a party. And he called, and we've been together 21 years now.
Wow, that's amazing.
She must have known something we didn't know.
Folks, we're talking to Kelly Lang today. Her new book is called I'm Not Going Anywhere, and of course she has a hit single to go with that. We're going to play that for you tonight. It's available at Amazon.com. You can also get the Kindle version of that, and you can get an autographed copy at kellylang.net. Olivia Newton-John wrote the foreword in this book for you, another breast cancer survivor.
Isn't that exciting? I was so thrilled that she did that for us. Yeah, she's a fellow survivor. She likes to call herself a thriver, and I agree with her completely. She is dealing with stage 4 bone cancer right now, and dealing with it with a lot of class and dignity, with a smile on her face. And to be really honest, I've learned a lot of the techniques and the attitudes from watching her, just by observing her, how she handles and lives with this. She doesn't allow it to define her. she has a very wonderful life. And, oh, yeah, by the way, she just happens to be dealing with a health issue. So I learn something from her every day, and I'm just really grateful for her guidance and friendship.
The book was completed to honor Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is the month of October. The folks at Springer Mountain Farms Chicken were extremely helpful in getting this out, too, I know. Great people.
Oh, yes. Gus Arundel is such a great sponsor for so many of the music artists in the Nashville area, and his chicken is the best. I cannot tell you otherwise. I just cannot believe that I've been so blessed to be a part of their group of people that they support. And we were able to debut the book on Huckabee. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity because they allowed us to share our story, and was able to sing I'm Not Going Anywhere. And the people that have been affected by cancer, either with someone they know or someone themselves, they allowed them to stand up and hold cards with people's names on it in the audience when I sang my song. And it was just so precious and so greatly effective for people watching to know that they're not alone.
Governor Huckabee has a wonderful show and such a champion for the artists in country music. And I believe his show is filmed at the old Twitty City. Is that right?
Yes, it's such a full circle moment for me because I used to sing there all the time when it was Music Village. And, his studio is totally different than what it once was as a theater. But, wow, it's state of the art, best sound, best light ever. And, of course, he's the greatest of interviewers I have ever experienced, besides my conversation with you.
You are too kind.
He's like you. He doesn't skip a beat either. He's so well versed and knows everything he's getting ready to ask, and it's such a great conversation.
He is. I just love watching his show, and I think it's so cool that he comes out and plays bass with so many of the acts that appear on there too. I think that's really neat.
I agree. I was at his house in Florida right after I had done a show with him last September, and I was so thrilled when I went up into his office, and there was the chart to my song that he had just learned the week before.
Oh, wow.
You really go through this? And he goes, oh, yeah, I learned them all at home. I don't sew this together. I'm like, oh, wow, that's impressive.
That's great. He's a musician at heart. Well, we're certainly, as I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, we're coming up fast to the holiday season, Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up. What's on tap for you as far as promoting the book and performances and things like that?
Well, you begin our conversation with the perfect conversation point in the fact that my book, I think, will make a really great Christmas gift for people, and in any format that it's in. But I think a hardback autograph book always makes me happy when I get a personalization from somebody that's written it. And we are geared up for a lot of orders. I'm so excited about that. So if your listeners want an autographed copy of my book, please specify in the order form on kellylang.net whom you want me to sign that to, and I'll be glad to do that. But give yourself plenty of time, because I understand that the post office is a little slower these days. So yeah. I don't want to be disappointing to anybody and have it not there in time.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to order that right away, folks. kellylang.net. We will have that information on our Facebook page for My Kind of Country as well. Kelly, as always, thank you so much for being so giving of your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I'm going to play this beautiful song, I'm Not Going Anywhere, for our listeners right now on My Kind of Country.
Fantastic. And if you would let your listeners know, we have also released that as a single, and we also have a deluxe EP of I'm Not Going Anywhere. It has a piano version, an orchestrated version, and the story behind the song. So that's on the website as well.
Fabulous. All right. And you can also connect with Kelly at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and, of course, as we mentioned, YouTube. And I'm going to put the video for this song on our Facebook page for you as well. Kelly, God bless you and TG and all of our love from here at My Kind of Country. Wishing you a wonderful holiday season, and thank you so very much for being on the show.
You are a wonderful supporter of music, and we are grateful for you. Thank you so much, and be careful in the snow.
Yeah, we sure will. Here's Kelly Lang, I'm Not Going Anywhere, as we continue with My Kind of Country.
Take my hand, don't let go. Look in my eyes and in my soul. Hold me close of all your fear, I'm not going anywhere. Seasons change with the wind, but I'll be here till the end. Friends may come and then they go, but there's one thing you should know, I'm not going anywhere. I'd give my heart to you if yours stopped beating. Part your lips with mine if you weren't breathing. You have no burden that I wouldn't bear. I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be here when you close your eyes. There's no place I'd rather be than here by your side. I'd give my heart to you if yours stopped beating. Part your lips with mine if you weren't breathing. You have no burden that I wouldn't bear. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere.